Guys, as you know, I do news streaming, and today, of course, we're back after a long time of not really streaming the news. So I appreciate you guys for having the patience. Let's get back into it because I'm quite excited. I'm not gonna lie, I'm quite excited to get back into it. To having some time away always does wonders for like kind of refreshing that passion and enthusiasm, which I have, but sometimes it can be a bit of a struggle to fully have the time and the energy to put into it. But here we are, and this is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about how well, as far as like EU news, we're going to of course talk about the new UK Prime Minister Andy Burnham. We're going to talk about Keir Starmer's legacy, because sure as hell it's a shit stain. It's an absolute mess, and it's also very much dripped in blood. It's a horrible legacy that Keir Starmer is leaving behind, and we'll get into all of that. And of course, we'll talk about what seems to be potentially the new agenda for the prime minister that is coming up, Andy Burnham, which doesn't seem like the best either. But of course, we'll have to see how that unfolds. On some USA news, of course, the United States is still bombing Iran. They kind of went back to it, making it seem like the memorandum of understanding, the peace situation, the ceasefire, was more just a pretense. It was more just like a giving them a reason to, or giving them an opportunity to, gain back a little bit of their stockpiles, right? Gain back their ammunition a little bit, manufacture what they need to, get their stockpile back up, and now get back into the fray. Besides that, in some United States New York news, Mamdani is calling for Netanyahu arrest. Initially, I think in the last couple of weeks, we had been seeing him in interviews kind of talk about how he and his legal team are seeing what the possibilities are about arresting Netanyahu if he comes to New York City, because of course there is a warrant out for his arrest through the International Criminal Courts. So yeah, in the latest video that went super mega viral, he kind of explained how it's not going to be possible for him to have the legal authority to do it, but he is making a firm stance for the United States government, the forces that should do it, to arrest Netanyahu for this warrant. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about, so we'll get to it. But that's going to be the news for today, so stick around. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you, welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment, all that good stuff. And if you ever want to join live, well, here we are. You can just find me on Twitch, Finami. You'll be able to join, watch the broadcast live. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to say. So let's just dive into it. And for the most part, I kind of just want to start off by talking about, the outgoing prime minister and the incoming prime minister from the UK. Because I think one of the main things that I want to highlight today is that, our political leaders will not change course unless we demand it of them, unless we are sufficiently organized to demand it of them, or unless we're sufficiently organized to elect people into office that will represent our interests, our demands, right? I think Keir Starmer, such a disappointment for the UK in the way that, an accomplice to the genocide in Gaza and an accomplice to the bombings in Iran, right? The UK has been very close allies to the United States and Israel. And that was all under the leadership of Keir Starmer. So, and that's just foreign policy, right? That's foreign policy. Domestically speaking, it's also not looking the best, So let's dive into it, and I'll give you some commentary as we go.
In July 2024,
Oh shit, let me
Keir
first just
Starmer led the
make sure that the audio is alright. Innit, guys?
Labour Party. In July 2024,
Nah, that might be a twinge too loud for you guys.
Keir Starmer led the Labour Party to a resounding general election victory. After 14 years of Conservative rule, he was viewed as responsible for turning his party's fortunes around after taking the reins from Jeremy Corbyn.
You voted for it, and now...
Especially now that I've seen the face of the new guy, like I cannot stop looking at Keir Starmer and be like, these are the same. This is the same dude. This is giving me like when in the UK or when in the Netherlands, we went from Balkenende to Mark Rutte. That was also, I'm like, this is just the same guy. Balkenende, what a name. And Rutte. Like, this was also like, this is the same dude. Oh, God. That's like the worst way they could have angled that picture. Yeah, this is just like, it's giving this. This is what it's giving. Can I? Yeah, there we go. Creepy ass painting, dude. Anyway. This is just the same dude. It's kind of even crazy to see them side by side in a picture. I wish there was like just a good side by side. They knew that these motherfuckers looked too like they even do the same glasses. Like it's the same like see-through lenses. Come on, dude. I need a picture of them side by side. That's all I need. Oh, there you go. That kind of works. Does it? Yeah, like damn it. Ugh, Andy Burnham, Keir Starmer, like to me, like give me a side by side, guys. Oh, who did the side by side? I think Democracy. Democracy Now? Didn't they do a side by side? This could work. Just give me a decent side by side. Like the only issue is, bro, come on. Why are these pictures all cut off? That's fine. Like, it's just so crazy to me that, like, my God. Oh no. Oh no. This is not going well. There. I just wanted to grab this one and just put them side by side because, by God, what is it with like electing politicians that look so similar to the ones that are like leaving? Like it's giving the same for me, right? Like so just to um be precise. So this is the Netherlands. We went from this guy to this guy. Like this is Mark Rutte, who's now fucking chief of NATO, right? In the UK, they went from this guy to this guy. Like, what is up with that? What is up with like electing a guy that looks exactly the same from the guy that we just had who was horrible for the country? Like, what is up with that? Anyway, this has been in my mind for such a long time. Like Balkenende and Rutte it just gives me exactly the same as fucking Keir Starmer and Andy Burnham. And hey, as a Dutch person, I can tell you that Rutte did not improve things, right? Rutte was not an improvement on Balkenende, just a continuation of deregulation. This is not about that. This is not about that. But I just wanted to point out how, these motherfuckers look exactly the same, and their politics are most likely, more importantly, their politics are going to be looking exactly the same. If anything, Andy Burnham so far has already gone a step beyond. Like he has already been giving out fucking what is it? Oil drilling contracts, like fossil fuel drilling permits or contracts or whatever to oil companies. It's insane. Fossil fuel.
It has arrived. Change begins now.
Just 2 years later, the former lawyer is leaving Downing Street, viewed by some as a poor communicator, lacking in charisma. Critics say he squandered his party's parliamentary majority through his indecisiveness and a series of unpopular policies. One of his first perceived missteps was scrapping the winter fuel payment for all but the poorest pensioners, an unpopular move he later reversed. But his biggest regret will likely be nominating Peter Mandelson as ambassador to the United States, before having to fire him for his links to sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, if you think about it, the UK, like all of these fucking elected officials, that are like, uh, just in the worst, you know, uh, sea of allegations of like, oh, Keir Starmer, elected Peter Mandelson. Oh, God, I cannot believe I forgot his face. Nigel Farage, he accepted like £5 billion donate or £5 million donation from like a crypto billionaire. It's just like all of these guys fucking suck.
Had I known at the time what I know now or knew in September, I'd have
Won't
never
anyone
done it.
think of Keir
And that's why
Starmer?
today
If
I've
only he had
apologised
known.
for the fact that
So
I appointed
sad.
him in the first place and I believed his lies.
Facing a rising extreme right, Starmer decided to toughen his tone on immigration, alienating many in his own party. And in local elections in May, Labour still performed disastrously against Nigel Farage's Reform Party. On the international stage, his relationship with US President Donald Trump deteriorated after he refused to enthusiastically back the Iran war. But Starmer helped to reinforce the UK's relations with the European Union and was a vocal supporter of Ukraine.
The UK commitment to Ukraine will not waver. And it was really important as I stepped down that I told that to President Zelensky.
Deposed by his own party, he's passing the keys of Downing Street to Andy Burnham, the former mayor of Greater Manchester. Starmer fans argue he reduced NHS waiting lists and increased spending on public services and the military. But he also leaves the UK with a struggling economy and ongoing political instability. The country has seen 7 prime ministers in the past 10 years.
This footage released by
Mind
US Central
you,
Command.
oh shit, I wanted to go back really quickly to the end there.
In July
Mind
2020,
you, and
economy.
I will always repeat this because we talk about this a lot on the broadcast, and that is that, yes, the UK economy is not doing too hot. And right now, we're in an era where UK politicians, UK leaders are increasingly trying to move more and more resources away from public spending, from public resources, from public investment, from public infrastructure towards military investment. And we talk about this a lot because I think it is important to really deeply understand how big of a mistake this is, right? As I usually explain, and this is American numbers, but this is a general phenomenon, right? For every dollar you invest into military spending, you get back anywhere between 80 cents to $1.20. Okay, bit of a range. You can be in the negative, you can be in a positive. For every dollar you invest into public infrastructure, in comparison, you get back at least $1.50. And I think this is such a good example of why, all of these UK leaders really don't have the people's best interest in mind, right? They have the best interest in mind of their um corporate sponsors or corporate donors. They have the best interest in mind of their American allies, right? That's who they keep in mind when they make the decision to, and this is in their words, make military investments the growth engine of the UK economy. That's where we're at. And as I just pointed to the numbers, this is a huge mistake, and it will only make things more and more difficult for the average person. So until they change that, it's fundamentally going to keep getting worse. And we'll have a look at some stuff here because, well, Andy Burnham is coming into power with a lot of things to say, right? So, Andy Burnham, let's see here. Ratatata. Yeah, so Andy Burnham is coming into power. Actually, I didn't have another video. Yeah, let's move to this one.
So cutting taxes.
So we're going to have a look at, the way that Andy Burnham is coming into power now, because the way he's framing it is that, we have to, we are coming into power with a crisis, during a crisis of affordability crisis. We have to listen more. We have to prioritize certain decision making. Like, that's the kind of attitude and words that Andy Burnham is bringing as he is getting into power now. And so we'll just really focus on what is he, what kind of policy proposals is he coming up with? How does he plan to rebuild the British economy? And how does he plan to tackle, cost of living? But also other things that UK people are very upset about, and that is the UK's complicity in the genocide in Gaza. So yeah, let's dive into that and get a bit of a better understanding.
Is then on people's electricity bill. It is the new pledge from the government of the new British Prime Minister Andy Burnham that, according to Downing Street, is Burnham's attempts to deliver on his promises to ease the country's cost of living crisis. These images are coming into us right now, in fact, from Downing Street as that cabinet meeting gets underway. Today, Burnham is holding that meeting with his new cabinet as they prepare really to launch into their priorities before the next election, which has to be held at the latest in just over 3 years' time. Rochelle Ferguson-Biyahi from our International Affairs Desk is...
Also, mind you, I quickly want to pull up here some information. This one. So he was just talking about Andy Burnham's cabinet. So what are we talking about when we talk about the British or the Burnham cabinet, right? So this was a post made by Dr. Rame Al-Adwan. And, she's really highlighting the connections that, Burnham's cabinet have to Israel. So either through lobbying power or other means. So let's go through it, right? So we have the Chancellor, John Healey, who is a supporter of Labour Friends of Israel. Parliamentary supporter, and he has opposed the recognition of Palestine. Then we have the first Secretary of State, Louise Hayden, I don't know how to pronounce that, who has labeled Gaza as a genocide, but has accepted up to £50,300 in office and staffing from Labour Together, a pro-Israel think tank. And then this person, who we will be talking about some more, the Foreign Secretary, who has personal family ties to Israel and is a self-described friend of Israel, opposed BDS, and there's a couple other things I want to get to about that because, let's see here. Yes, this one. So this was a response by Zach Polanski, responding to Ed Miliband's comments on being appointed prime minister or being appointed foreign secretary. And, he goes into a bit of detail. As a background, he's Jewish. That doesn't matter, right? That's not what we're here for. We're here for people that are supporting Israel in their genocide against the Palestinians. That's who we are critical against and who we don't want to be, in power in our in our countries, right? Zach responds to this because of course, let's have a look here. Where did he mention it? Yeah, so this is a really... Can I just zoom in? Nope. Couldn't have made it smaller. So, okay. What he states here is that pursuing our interests and values means means continuing to stand shoulder to shoulder with the people of Ukraine against Russia's illegal invasion, as Britain has done for the last 4 years. It means playing our part to seek to end the conflict in Iran and hopefully reopen the Strait of Hormuz. It must also mean working tirelessly to seek a sustainable peace in Palestine and Israel, including an end to the terrible suffering of the people in Gaza and security of the people of Israel. So yeah, now he goes on to a couple other things that are a bit more specifically about, foreign secretary roles. But Zach Polanski answers, or, responds to this, to the statement of the new UK Foreign Secretary, Ed Miliband. I'm going through this a bit fast, but I just really want us to understand the people that are going to be in the cabinet of the, new UK Prime Minister, because we will see that this new cabinet, new Prime Minister, might not be that much new as much as it might be business as usual. So it is quite important to have politicians like Zach Polanski that will adequately point out what is missing and what should be done. And Zach says here, how can we hope he has a serious plan for ending the, quote, terrible suffering of people in Gaza, quote, end quote, when he can't even bring himself to name Israel as the genocidal aggressor causing the suffering? We need concrete action, a full arms embargo, and an end to trade with illegal settlements. Great. This is, I think, the bare minimum nowadays that you need to point out. We need to point out that it is a genocide. Every possible international organization, judicial findings point to the fact that there is a genocide unfolding on a population that is almost 50% minors, right? This is not just a genocide against a population, which it is. It's also a genocide against children, which all of it is bad, right? It's just bad in so many different ways. And so we need our politicians to, at the bare minimum, say that it's a genocide. And what needs to be done is a complete cessation of any type of relation or trade with a country that is doing that, right? With a colonial entity that is doing that. So I appreciate that Zach points that out. And of course, in this list that we were going down, this is what the new foreign secretary is bringing to the table in this new cabinet. Then we have a defense secretary, Wes Streeting, a 20-year plus Labor Friends of Israel member who received funding from pro-Israel lobby, more than £300,000, introduced IHRA into NHS, mentored by Peter Mandelson. Oh, that's great. That's fantastic, actually. We needed more of that. We needed more Peter Mandelson because, wait a minute, we just heard that one of the main, as reported, one of the main scandals was that Peter Mandelson was put into certain positions. That was one of the main scandals that caused Keir Starmer to step down. But now we have a defense secretary that was personally mentored by Peter Mandelson. Make it make sense. Labor Friends of Israel funded his delegation trip to Israel. And then the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmoud, defended and appealed protect conscription of Palestine action, commended police for enforcement actions, mass arrests against the public. Something that is... So this guy is... Or a person... Guy? I don't know. I don't know if it's a woman or a man. But this person loves arresting pensioners. This person loves arresting old ladies that, can barely walk but want to defend freedom. He loves arresting them. That's all I have to say. Yvette Cooper, yikes, Health Secretary, instigated The initial prescription of Palestine Action accepted over £215,000 from the Israel lobby. Lucy Powell, Education Secretary, Labor Friends of Israel member, condemned anti-Zionist campus movement, funded trip to Israel. Angela Reiner, House Secretary, accepted £25,000+ donation from pro-Israel lobbyist Trevor Chin, a vocal opponent of BDS. So, I can't believe I'm forgetting the abbreviation. Divestment and sanctions? Boycott, there you go. Boycott, divestment, and sanctions. Also, I just realizing you cannot see the chat and you cannot see the bot comments. Angela Eagle, Environment Secretary, long-term Labor Friends of Israel supporter, voted down parliamentary motions for weapons embargo. Pat McFadden, Work and Pension Secretary, former Labor Friends of Israel Vice Chair, funded trip to Israel. And something tells me that, the pensioners, people that are also suffering from this like increased militarization drive, because we can just take money from that and put it into, or, not literally like that, but resources that should go to this type of stuff is now being diverted away to military investment. So again, horrible. This is not going to do any favors to the UK economy being rebuilt, right? That's what their so-called plan is, their 10-year rebuilding plan. Jonathan Reynolds, Business and Science Secretary, long-term Labor Friends of Israel Vice Chair, signed off on and maintained existing arms export licenses to Israel as a Trade Secretary and has had a funded trip to Israel. Alex Norris, Justice Secretary, member and parliamentary supporter of Labor Friends of Israel. Heidi Alexander, Transport Secretary, defended the UK's continuing export of F-35 fighter jets components to Israel. Lisa Nandy, Culture Secretary, stated that boycotting Israel can be used to whip up hostility, opposed full ban on arms sales to Israel. Emma Reynolds, Chief Secretary to the Treasury, prominent Labor Friends of Israel supported, had a funded trip to Israel. Ellie Reeves, Attorney General, Labor Friends of Israel member, backs directives limiting public sector procurement boycotts. Douglas Alexander. Guys, it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And this is just, this is just like in the direct cabinet. That just shows you how captured this new cabinet will be. So now that we have that, nice piece of background information, useful, very nice and useful, let's dive back into the news, right?
With me here. Interesting to see those images coming in right as we come to talk to you, Rochelle. I mean, what are the priorities then of this new government? Because presumably Andy Burnham's going to be at the forefront of that, but he's also got to take some advice, of course, from those cabinet members as well.
Well, that's right, Stuart. So much going on this morning. We were fortunate enough to listen in to Andy Burnham there, where he was speaking about this VAT cut on electricity bills. He used the word reprioritisation. He wants to reprioritise this cost of living crisis in the UK. And
guys, one thing I don't like doing is constantly pausing and pausing and pausing at every word, but it makes my blood boil. It makes my blood boil when I hear, I mean, not her specifically, she's reporting on it, but like the words that they use. Oh, we're gonna reprioritize the cost of living. What do you mean reprioritize? Shouldn't that be like the one and only priority of a government that is supposedly elected to represent the people's interests? Sure, doesn't matter what flavor you want to choose, but if you're not representing the people's interest, then what the fuck are you doing in government? Hey, that's an interesting question, isn't it? It's because the government, as it stands right now, the UK government, doesn't function to represent people's interest. It functions as a sort of manager of debt, right? It functions as a manager of debt to make sure that public debt can be leveraged to siphon off more resources, more surplus, more profits to, the capitalists, to the already pretty wealthy. And so when they say this type of stuff, oh, we're gonna reprioritize, the cost of living, they're just fucking around. They're like, we're gonna reprioritize it in the words that we say. Like, what does it even mean, reprioritize? Prioritize. Stop making up words to dodge responsibility and to kind of push it back, you know. It pisses me off. It just reminds me, I'm sure anyone who, is at work and they have like some annoying ass managers who, anytime you have like the slightest bit of criticism or the slightest bit of, hey, this isn't going well, they have like a whole fucking list of excuses and reason why it's not their responsibility, why they just can't change anything, yada, yada, yada. And when then things go wrong, you have to solve everything by yourself. That's what it feels like. I'm sure if any of you guys has a job, this will be probably somewhat recognizable. Anyway, back to the video.
You know, we've had this analogy of giving breathing space to Brits who are in need of some help when it comes to facing, these bills that are coming in thick and fast. So what would that mean? It would mean VAT on electricity bills being moved from 5% to 0%. I said to you earlier that would total about £45 a year off of the average bill payer's electricity bill. If you do the maths, though, and if you look at how much bills have gone up, since the start of 2026, you're looking at about a 13% rise. So that's in the area of about £18 per month, 18 times 12, 216. So you're looking at, not a great deal off of bills. It's certainly, if you look at how, the wholesale has gone up, of course, because of, the war in the Middle East. So there are some that say this is a drop in the ocean. Other campaigners who are saying, no, there's a larger bill. There's a larger energy bill of £5 billion per year that actually bill payers are not managing to pay off. Let's start by targeting that rather than this kind of...
It is such a shame, dude. It's such a shame that we are like nickel and diming this when it's like billions and billions. A lot of money is going to weapons manufacturers. Like, it's just it just feels like, we're running after the fact, right? Like trying to be a little bit like, oh, we'll try to bring down the cost of energy bills a little here, we'll try to bring it down a little bit there. It's like you're not changing anything systematically. They're not changing anything systematically. Things stay the same, and they will, unless and until, the working class as a whole is adequately organized to pressure back, to elect people that will represent people's interests. As we can see, if it can happen in America, it can happen anywhere, right? If Zohran Mamdani, if all these other democratic socialists can be elected, then it's really not stopping anywhere else from having them elected, because they will actually bring such strong results. Sure, nothing like, they're not changing the system, but they are showing that capitalist mismanagement is, it's part and parcel with electing these people that will only represent corporations.
Smaller, less significant step towards cutting VAT. But, it's his first policy. He wanted to roll that out. Of course, there's going to be a criticism of, how that's seen by the public and, of course, by political opponents, Stuart.
It's interesting looking at all those faces around the table, a lot of well-known faces, but a lot of those figures who were really known as part of the Keir Starmer government are no longer there, and a lot of analysis about who's there and who isn't.
Well, absolutely. We saw in those images there John Healey, who's now Chancellor, will remember that famous open letter to Keir Starmer in which he was incensed by the fact that Starmer's defence investment budget hadn't gone up to 3% of Britain's GDP by 2030. 14. That was the minimum that, would be needed ultimately to stay in line with other countries in the European Union. So he's back there, back in business, chatting away in that cabinet meeting. You got, of course, Ed Miliband following in the steps of his brother David, who had the same role of Foreign Secretary between 2007, I believe, and 2010. He himself, Ed Miliband, is going to have a lot of, subjects to deal with, notably this war between the US, Israel, and Iran. How will Britain fare in all that? Will they open up their bases to the UK should this escalate? There are lots of things that he'll be dealing with. And of course, West Streeting as well. He was somebody that was openly with Andy Burnham. And perhaps, he's being repaid for that loyalty to Andy Burnham, saying, no, actually, I won't run as Labour leader. I will stand aside and leave that to you. So a lot of familiar faces, also some new ones, and a lot of chit-chat about this new cabinet. Last thing to say, it's the most women that we've ever seen in a cabinet. For Keir Starmer, there was 11. Andy Burnham has gone one up and put 12 women in place.
Well. Cheers to the women that will support Israel. That does make my heart warm and fuzzy. But yeah, that's kind of a bit of a flavor. Let's see. Yeah, I think that is just like maybe a good place to look at things. I don't remember if I had like specific, because yeah, it's just kind of early. So of course there's not necessarily going to be a lot of news about it yet. It's the general stuff. We're going to rebuild the economy, this, that, and the other. But I think the most currently, I think the most telling development so far has been that I think Andy Burnham already gave some contracts to fossil fuel companies. Let me just double check that. I think that was like yeah, this is what we're stepping into, guys. So Burnham announced plans for new North Sea. Why is it so small? There you go. Burnham to announce plans for new North Sea oil and gas drilling. Right. So I don't know. Maybe he thinks that's really going to contribute to the economy. I don't know. Maybe, guys, I don't think he's actually that innocent. I was going to say maybe he just doesn't know what he's doing, but I think he's actually not that innocent. I think he actually is already, doing exactly what he wanted to do or what he was put in place for. So Andy Burnham will announce plans for new oil and gas drilling in the North Sea after he becomes Prime Minister, the BBC has been told. The Labour's 2024 manifesto, which the new leader said he would follow, had pledged to issue no new licenses but to honor existing ones. At the heart of the debate are the two oil and gas fields in Scotland, Rosebank and Jackdaw, which regulators approved in 2022 and 2023 under the Conservative government, but were overturned in 2025 after a legal challenge. The announcement will form part of a flurry of measures from Burnham, including plans to take water and energy companies under public control and a new council house building program. He is also expected to outline new measures that will give people breathing space on the cost of living, and intends to make a dynamic start focused on the deliverable tangibles to change people's lives as soon as possible. Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. I will say, wait, can we just maybe I guess I don't. Yeah, because I guess I would be interested in this about the water. Yeah, maybe we can have a look at this. Oh. Right. Okay. Yeah. So, let's dive a little bit more into his plans, because I do realize that I didn't fully do it, but we did firmly explain what our expectations are with, the guy that is going out, the guy that's coming in, who is in Burnham's cabinet. That we have now laid out pretty clearly. Now let's dive a little bit into the plans as he has spoken about them. So, incoming prime minister has set out distinctly left-wing vision. Incoming prime minister has set out distinctly left-wing vision while also promising to be pro-business. As an incoming prime minister, promising huge change, one of the strongest criticisms Andy Burnham has faced so far is that he has failed to provide the details of what he plans to do. The new Labour leader, who will be made prime minister on Monday, has thus far set out a distinctly left-wing vision while also pledging to be pro-business. But in the absence of leadership contest, husting, or opportunities for the media to subject him to probing interviews, there are gaps in what is known about his plans for government. Here is what we know so far. Public control of utilities. Burnham has pledged to take more public control of key utilities such as water, a move that appears likely to begin with Britain's largest water company, Thames Water. He is also, it's insane that it's not public to begin with. That's insane that it's not public to begin with. Although, none of this can be taken for granted, because in Portugal, this was also something that was starting to be contested. But then in 2025, when left-leaning government was elected, they kind of more firmly made sure for it to remain a public good or public utility. But yeah, it's one of those things that it cannot be taken for granted at all. Continuing, he's also understood to be considering radical plans to cut household energy bills by £130 a year and make running a heat pump cheaper than a gas boiler. The proposals would change the way household gas is charged and remove some policy levels from bills at a cost of £3.2 billion a year to the taxpayer. Thames Water, which serves 16 million customers, has been on the brink of collapse for several years, will meanwhile be put into a special format of administrator until a buyer is found, according to the Sunday Times. Expect action, too, on transport policy. Burnham has said that he would be informed by the transportation of Greater Manchester bus network during his time as mayor, which included taking the system back under public control from private operators. Also, another thing that is so common sense. I mostly compare this, some of these 2 outer extremes between the Netherlands and Portugal. And the Netherlands has a private system. It's so expensive to travel by public transport. It's not good quality, or it isn't as good as it could be, as it should be. And in Portugal, at least what you can expect is affordable public transport. It doesn't always look the prettiest and all that stuff, but it's affordable. And that, for working people, that matters a lot. For people's mobility, that's super important, and it's a good thing. So again, this is just something good to take back under public control indeed. Drill baby drill. Speculation is rife that Burnham will announce fresh plans for drilling in the North Sea. The Labour leader team has not publicly confirmed the details of its North Sea policies and whether they would involve new exploration licenses or tiebacks where offshore oil and gas fields are connected to already approved production facilities via pipelines. In its 2024 manifesto, Labour pledged to honor existing exploration licenses but not issue new ones. The Guardian understands that this tieback arrangement would allow new drilling to take place without technically breaking the manifesto commitment, although any new activity is likely to anger some backbenchers and climate campaigners. 3. Sticking with Mahmoud's immigration changes. So we read about this person before. They were really supportive of the mass arrests with the Palestine Action situation. Even before his Makerfield by-election victory made him an MP again, Burnham's allies had briefed that he would be supporting Shabana Mahmoud's controversial changes to the immigration system. On Monday, and back in House of the Commons, he supported the government's asylum changes, voting for legislation that has divided Labour MPs over plans to tighten the immigration system and reshape the appeals process. While he has avoided laying out specific policies in the area of key speeches, he said recently that net migration needs to fall further and spoken of how voters in Makerfield raised their concerns about immigration. Such a distraction. Such a distraction. None of, I never see all of this energy for like the active genocide that's happening that one of the UK's allies is committing. I never see this type of energy for that. A shame, really. A shame. Digital ID, scrapping the Department of Science. What? Really? But appointing a minister for AI. Burnham's team have asked officials to draw up plans to abolish the Department for Science, Innovation, and Technology as part of a wider Whitehall shakeup. However, while the plans have triggered an angry backlash from MPs, Whitehall officials, and others, a new cabinet on Monday is expected to include a minister for artificial intelligence for the first time. The proposals in relation to the... Oh, hi, Katerina. Want to hang out? My cat, guys. Hello. Come here, honey. Want to say hi to the stream? I think he does. This is my cat, guys. He's saying hi. But yeah, an AI prime minister is, I mean, for me, I'm just like, we are, I don't know, man. I feel like we're both way too far behind, and we're just like not focused on the right things that are gonna allow us to catch up. And then appointing a AI prime minister, it just feels like a beautiful way for like whoever, like whatever crypto billionaire or AI billionaire wants to have like a clear department that they can go to drop a little bit of lobbying money, that they will know where to go to. But that's just, kind of a joke, kind of just conspiracy joking. That's what it feels like. So the proposal in relation to DSIT would hand over much of science and technology policy to a more powerful business department to be led by Chief Whip Jonathan Reynolds. Grasping the social care nettle, the Prime Minister in waiting highlights fixing social care as a priority, vowing last week to grasp the nettle of adult social care reform. Burnham last tried to change the social care system, when he was Labour's health secretary in 2009. At the time, he proposed a levy on estates to pay for universal health or universal social care, but he has since talked about replacing inheritance tax with a progressive care levy to fund a national care service. Speaking to The Guardian on the campaign trail last month, he said, "I personally would look at all of the kind of implications of that in relation to inheritance tax and blah, 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 blah." Okay, council house building. This was also interesting. Burnham has said he wants the government led by him to oversee the biggest council house building program since the post-war period. The challenge is a major one, the scale of which is seemingly not lost on Burnham, who linked the loss of almost 1.5 million council homes since the 1980s to the number of families on social housing waiting lists nationwide rising to a similar level. In a hint of other plans, he also said that the high costs are having a ruinous impact on the government's finances amid record levels of taxpayer support allocated to housing, much of which flows to private landlords. That's absolutely true. Yeah, I'm just kind of curious how this is going to work out, because on the one hand, I just don't trust it. Like, again, they pointed this out as well. He didn't campaign. He didn't, talk about his plans. No one was able to advocate for things that they want. So they're really kind of just, on the one hand, mentioning some stuff that people might want. Hopefully, this will also translate into real action, but it will be to see. Now, moving on to other news, let's just dive into the developments about the United States and Iran, because, they have been trading blows for
This footage released
a longer period now. And I think it's the 11th consecutive day that the United States has been bombing Iran. So let's just dive into that news.
By US Central Command shows the latest round of strikes on Iran. CENTCOM said it targeted military command centers, air defense and coastal surveillance sites, and other military capabilities. According to local authorities, several locations in the port city of Bushehr were hit, home to the country's only operational civilian nuclear power plant. US President Donald Trump defended the latest strikes as retaliation for the deaths of as many as 3 American service members. This video circulating online purports to show the moment a projectile hit a US airbase in Jordan, where 2 personnel were killed on Friday. Another service member died in northern Iraq on Saturday during a controlled detonation of unexploded Iranian ordnance. On Monday, Iran's Revolutionary Guards announced they'd retaliated by hitting targets in Syria, Jordan, Bahrain and Kuwait. Bahrain said Iran attacked civil air navigation systems, though operations weren't affected. In recent days, Tehran has also targeted civilian infrastructure in Gulf nations like desalination facilities, raising fears of water shortages. During a meeting with judicial officials, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian acknowledged a full-scale war.
That is such a hilarious thing to just put on a building. Just like, what is this? Like an AI
President
image?
Masoud Pezeshkian
Not the belly poking out. That's crazy.
acknowledged a full-scale war.
The reality is that
Kinda
today
funny.
the Islamic Republic of Iran is engaged in a full-scale war. We must be realistic and accept the natural consequences of this resistance.
Despite this, Iran's foreign ministry said diplomatic exchanges with Washington were ongoing via mediators.
In recent days, the diplomatic apparatus has remained active, and ideas have indeed been conveyed to us by certain mediators.
The spokesperson added that Iran's interior minister was on Monday holding talks in Pakistan, the main mediator between the warring sides.
Israeli forces have carried out an air.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's a couple important things to hit here. That the memorandum of understanding, as it stood, it didn't hold. The United States, more likely than anything, just used it as a period to replenish their stockpile, in order to keep moving forward. And so, you know, it's horrible, because now we're back to the, you know, strikes, retaliatory strikes by Iran, and you know, the strikes by the United States, retaliatory strikes by Iran. Because at the end of the day, the United States has a lot of like military presence in the region through its allies there, and so you know, Iran might be striking some military infrastructure, but the United States is very ruthless, as we have seen with their double tapping strike on the girls' school, killing over 160 people. But yeah, again, as they also said, talks are ongoing, negotiations are ongoing, but that doesn't mean that people aren't dying, right? You know, American service personnel are dying, which is it's just a good reminder that, you know, don't join the military. First of all, be a conscious objector. But that's kind of, if Europe follows the United States' path, that's where we're headed, right? That's what they want from us. Is for people that join the military to just roll over, listen to what needs to be done, and die for this kind of shit, right? People that died had very little to do with all of this that is happening. They're just fodder. They're cannon fodder. And it's unfortunately not going to bring peace. It's just giving the United States more time to wreck things, to try and destabilize Iran as much as possible. And this is a very, very unpopular war.
Given that
CNN here has some reporting on that.
You appear to be in full-scale fighting again.
I wanted to know, how do Americans feel about it this time around versus where they were at the beginning?
Yeah, historically unpopular. That's the phrase that I would use. The war was unpopular to start off with, and it's become even less popular. You could see it right here. Okay, Washington Post poll, Trump's Iran war net approval rating. In early March, look at this. It was way down there at minus 13 points. Very rare for a war to start off underwater on the net approval. That is approval minus disapproval. But look at how far down we are now, right into the Red Sea. 40 points underwater, according to the Washington Post poll. Look, I tried to find every single poll I possibly could. I believe this minus 40 points represents the least popular poll in terms of Trump's net approval rating on the Iran war, the entire war so far. So as I said at the beginning, it started off unpopular, and now it is even more unpopular, historically unpopular, 40 points underwater.
Well, since you're talking about history, put this in some historical perspective.
Yeah, okay, let's put it in some historical perspective. You think the war has been worth it or not worth it? And why don't we take a look here? We can compare Iran in 2026 to Iraq in 2006. And keep in mind, the Iraq war by this point in 2006, at this point in the midterm cycle, it had been going on for 3 years at this point. We're only a few months into this war. Think the war was worth it. Iraq in
Yeah, the Iraq war is also such a crazy, insane thing that, you know, the United States inflicted on that region purely to destabilize, to, you know, make sure that it can continue doing whatever it wants in the region. But yeah, now with Iran, it's kind of interesting because it's like a country that's fighting back. There's no boots on the ground invasion, but yeah, so unpopular. It's insane. Crazy that 28% of people are like, yeah, this is good. It's probably just some old people that have like no relation, no like involvement, that in no way, shape, or turn have any negative consequences. But the rest sees this for what this is: a useless, worthless, deadly war that will just waste more money.
2006, 58% said it was not worth it. And again, that was 3 years into that war. Look at this now. You think that 58% was high in terms of not worth it? 68% of Americans, more than 2 in 3, say the Iran war was not worth it. Just 28%, less than a third of Americans now say the Iran war was worth it. Even less than the 40% who said the Iraq war was worth it. Again, at this point, heading into the 2006 midterm cycle, of course, we remember what happened in 2006. Republicans lost both the House and the Senate. And at this point, this 28%, even lower, and this 68% saying not worth it, even higher than the 58% who said this about Iraq 20 years ago. And so this is a very, very bad number for the president. I think a lot of Republicans in Congress don't like this number one iota.
No, look, this is a notable difference. This was a devastating year for Republicans in the midterms there. And I'm really surprised, frankly, that the disapproval is that much higher at this point. All right, who are these people? What is the partisan makeup of people saying that they don't think the Iran war is worth it?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's an interesting polling because, I mean, usually the numbers kind of end up looking like this. This is a bit more of like a firmer, not worth assessment. But yeah, usually the numbers end up looking like this, like a majority, whether it's looking back or whether it's as it's happening, they don't support war. I think most people see war for what it is, and it's a useless way, you know, to throw, like, it's a thing that like, human life just gets completely disregarded. Children suffer, families suffer, everyone suffers. Like, no one wins in war except weapons manufacturers. So also, I just realized that a TV is being turned on in the living room, which is highly unfortunate. I'm streaming, of course, so I do apologize. I don't know. It's yeah, it's people. I live with multiple people in this house, so, you know, when that happens, unfortunately, I don't know if I will be able to stream. I don't know how loud it will be. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, the 68% not worth it, you know, just a devastating number for Republicans. What is driving this number? Well, it's two groups that I think are just really interesting. Say the Iran war is not worth it. Look at this. Among all independents, it is 77%. More than 3 in 4 of all independents say it's not worth it. How about GOP-leaning independents? These are independents who say they actually lean Republican. 63% of them, more than 3 in 5, nearly 2 in 3, say that, in fact, the Iran war is not worth it. Again, as I said at the beginning, this is a historically unpopular war. It's a war that is becoming only more unpopular. And while President Trump won't be on the ballot come November, a lot of Republicans in Congress will be, and they cannot like the look of these numbers, especially with a group GOP-leaning independents who historically vote Republican.
They need these voters.
They need these voters. They need these voters. They need these voters. And right now in the Iran war,
I do find it funny that we're always focusing on these like mythical like center voters, because it's just like wait guys. All right, yeah, it's always just funny to focus on these like mythical like centrist like independent voters, like swing voters or whatever, because it's just like, I mean, look at Mamdani, right? Look at the trajectory of someone that voted for Bernie Sanders, Donald Trump, and then Zohran Mamdani. These are not like people that, I mean, sure, this whole is also a voter base, whatever, but what also matters is like these are people that, you know, people need to feel like they're being spoken to, that they're being represented by their politician. And if no politician is talking about how Israel is committing a genocide, how we shouldn't be sending more arms to Israel, or that we, you know, shouldn't participate in illegal wars, that we should focus on, you know, or American politicians should focus on Americans, then, you know, that's how you capture voters, not just by like, oh, you know, I mean, sure, people are going to vote often along their party lines, their party, you know, history. But the main point as well to really take home is that there's plenty of people that will just move from Bernie Sanders to Donald Trump to Zohran Mamdani because they want to feel like their politician is speaking directly to them. Now, it is important that left, you know, politicians, that leftist politicians, that democratic socialist politicians, that they do this as well, right? Like we need, yeah, I think that that just makes sense, right? My point is we don't need to just focus on this like mythical like centrist voter, although I feel like across the board they're all very anti-war, some more than others, but yeah, that's all I want to say. It's important to focus on every voter, at every category of voter, because every category of voter will have the potential to switch over to a different candidate if presented with a clear policy proposals, with clear policy proposals.
they most certainly don't have these voters.
I don't understand how it's possible that Iran has the capabilities to fight this way and continue to try to lash out at Gulf countries and U.S. military bases, because the U.S. has obliterated Iran's military, and the president continues to reiterate that.
As far as the public goes and how they feel about this war, it's pretty clear. A new Washington Post Ipsos poll finds that 68% of Americans believe the war in Iran was not worth fighting, compared to just 28% who are saying it was. That negative 40-point split is worse than both the war in Iraq and the war in Afghanistan, according to Washington Post ABC News polling. Elizabeth, I want to start with you. You have Maria Bartiromo, who is very friendly generally towards Donald Trump.
I kind of want to see the comments. Oh, okay. Okay, not really useful comments, but I'm actually kind of curious, like, what it would be like on Fox News or something. Like, let's have a look. Fox News. Yeah, that's sure. What's the most recent one? This one? New warning. Shocks warning. I mean, it's all the same, I feel like. It's all kind of the same schlop. President Trump issues new warning. Chief warning. Okay, let's just watch this one.
Get back to Iran. And moments ago, the president issuing a new warning to Tehran. Posted the following on True.
So yeah, let's just check out the comments. So in essence, Iran would be requesting their infrastructure to be destroyed. Every time a boat gets hit by a power plant gets its wings. Remember when FIFA Peace Prize used to mean something? Should have done this already. That's what I'm talking about. Must be applicable to the Houthis as well. Next up, an apprentice. No more talk, no more warnings. Just finish it. Now we keep fighting to keep the strait open. There shouldn't be any power plants running now. Much as I know this war is necessary, my heart breaks for all the good people of Iran who are caught in between. I was 2, then 3, then 4 people killed. My deepest sympathies to family, our grandparents, America, plus our military. Iran hasn't kept one agreement. Okay, that's funny. I think it's the opposite. It's the United States. Why is Walmart expensive, folks? There you go. Trillions spent on exquisite weapons over decades, but we still can't protect our soldiers in our own bases. Yeah, anyway, it's a lot of back and forth happening. I just think it's, I mean, a reporting like this, of course, is just going to be so slanted to be like, yes, we need to keep the war going. But yeah, keep in mind that we are talking about a situation where 68% of Americans or people polled in that Washington News poll, Washington Post, whatever, in that poll that we just saw on this one here. Washington Post polling, 68% don't think it's worth. So, mind you, that's what they're up against.
Anytime the Islamic Republic of
So all of the people in the comments that are pro this war, they fall in the like 28% of Americans that think that we should keep this war going.
Iran shoots at a ship in the Strait of Hormuz, whether it be a missile, rocket, drone, or any other device or weapon, the United States will bomb and destroy one bridge or power plant, including those located next to or in the capital city of Tehran. Dan Hoffman here to react. And Dan, good day to you. What do you take from that message now as to what's next?
Yeah, well, I think the president has laid down the gauntlet on this one and made it very clear that that if Iran continues to try to disrupt trade in the Strait of Hormuz, that we're going to take action against them. I'm not that sanguine that Iran is going to stop trying to disrupt trade. They're trying to raise the costs of the United States prolonging this war. That's one way for them to do it. The other way that they've been doing it is by targeting our bases in the region, including in Jordan, where 4 of our servicemen were killed.
And Dan, mind you, I really wanted to bring this up again because I think this really, really highlights where we are at right now. The U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance admits, and this was in July 1st, right? Admits that his and Trump's Iran MOU is only a tactical operation to refill the world's oil economy and refill some stocks, not for peace, then to start the war again after the now 46 days are up.
So I think what the president has told us to do is use this MOU to sort of refill the world's oil economy, to refill some stocks, and then to see where the... So I think what the president has told us to do is use this MOU to sort of refill the world's oil economy, to refill some stocks, and then to see where the...
Right? To see where they can go from here, and it's just to go back to the war. None of this is about freedom, about Iranian freedom. That's what they truly are desperately trying to make you think, but that's clearly not working. It's just about, trying to pummel some like a country like Iran that seems to be the only opponent to Israel in the region. Even though, if we really think about it, the only threat to the region is Israel, right? The only country that is committing a genocide, that is bombing neighboring countries, is Israel. So the only threat to the region is Israel. And why is that? Because Israel is an extension of the United States foreign policy. So thank you, J.D. Vance, for bringing that up so succinctly. So yeah, polling is atrocious. So why does it keep happening? Let's see here. Yeah, let's just watch a couple more clips. On the one hand, talking about how the U.S. is now, wanting to target this like enrichment site, which, again, must I remind all of us, Iran wasn't developing nukes, okay? This is also one of those things that is constantly repeated, and it's just not true. Like, Iran is not developing nukes. Where is it? Just a second here. Where is it? Where is it? Give me a second, guys. Like, when we say nukes, we mean nuclear weapons, right? That's what we usually refer to. Let's see here. Usually, where did I have that? I had that on the ready. But where? I'm really sorry if you hear like background noise. It's just what it is with the place that I'm streaming from. Let's see here. I can't find it. I guess we can use this reporting. I mean, there's a couple different reports that we can use, but let's go for this one. By Middle East Monitor, the atomic, what was it? The International Atomic Energy Agency says no evidence Iran is building a nuclear bomb. Like, this is time and time and again has been used as a reason to, you know, do whatever the United States wants against Iran, even though it's not developing nukes. It should probably be developing nukes, like nuclear bombs, that is, so that it wouldn't be in this situation, wouldn't be attacked like this. But there is just no proof, and there's no evidence that Iran is actually building nuclear capabilities, nuclear bomb capabilities. There's always like civilian use for nuclear energy. That's like a separate thing. But nuclear bombs, there's just no evidence of that. But yeah, so that's some of the reporting we're seeing right now. That Donald Trump is supposedly eyeing Iran's Pickaxe Mountain, believed to be an enrichment site. But yeah, let's just look at this reporting.
Show what could be the US's next target in Iran. Shrouded in secrecy, Pickaxe Mountain is a suspected nuclear enrichment site, buried deep underground to protect it from attacks. Located around 225 kilometers south of Tehran and 2 kilometers from the Natanz nuclear facility, the mountain reaches 1,600 meters above sea level, while the fortified facility is estimated to be more than 90 meters below the surface. Experts believe that construction on the site started in 2020 and that it's not yet fully operational. Recent activity appears to show a security wall being built around the perimeter and its entrances being reinforced. US President Donald Trump has indicated that he has it in his sights.
Do you believe that Iran has moved nuclear centrifuges into Pickaxe Mountain? And when you say we're not done yet, what is left to finish?
Well, I think that they may have. We don't have it on record. We'll be hitting that area very probably.
It is kind of hilarious how it's always like, oh yeah, they're finished, they're done, it's completely over. And then like the next day it's like, well, we're going to go back in. We have this other site that we're going to hit. Yada, 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 yada. It's quite astonishing. It is quite astonishing. God, also, anytime something is happening in like this room of the White House, I'm like, all of this gold is just, it's so tacky. It's insane.
Probably pretty soon, and there's not a thing they can do about it. You know, normally I wouldn't say that.
According to Israeli intelligence, Tehran has transferred thousands of nuclear centrifuges to Pickaxe Mountain since last autumn. Iranian officials first announced plans to build centrifuges at the site in 2020, following an incident blamed on Israeli sabotage on the nearby Natanz enrichment facility. The Natanz site has since been bombed twice by the US, but Pickaxe Mountain would be a more difficult target. Experts say the facility is buried so deep that the United States bunker-busting bombs, which were used on a site in Fordo, might not be successful. For its part, Iran continues to maintain that its nuclear program is peaceful, but it's not allowed the United Nations International Atomic Energy Agency to inspect the Pickaxe Mountain facility.
Man, they love making it seem like Iran is developing nukes. for better or for worse, Iran is not developing nukes. Again, it would make them a whole of a lot safer. But at some point, you have to be like, well, after all this time, if we're constantly hearing that Iran is developing nukes, but no nukes actually appear, then maybe it is just something that is being said to manufacture consent for war, even though there is no consent right now for war. Let's have a look here. Yeah, and so I think on the other hand, what is interesting to look at, and this is of course still also very relevant for, our little economic, political situation here in Europe, and that is that, of course, money has to come from somewhere, right? Money has to keep being approved to send bombs to, or to send weapons or to send money, whatever, right? The money has to keep flowing. And so I do think it's interesting. I haven't watched this clip, but Pete Hegseth asked the US Senate for urgent Iran funding increase. Somehow, let's all say it together, they have money for wars, but they can feed the who? That's right, the poors. They have money to do all of this shit. More and more billions and billions and billions, but they have no money for housing, for healthcare, for education for kids, for food for kids. No, we would rather use money that we could use for any of that to kill children in Gaza. Or in Iran, target a girls' school. None of that is off limits.
$37.5 billion. That is the cost of the US military campaign against Iran so far, the figure revealed by the US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth as he appeared before the Senate to make the case for the war and ask for an additional $87.6 billion worth of funding. Hegseth's appearance as the US military has launched what is its 11th night of the latest strikes on Iran. Some anger, though, from Democrats.
So here we are 5 months later. The strait is closed. The ceasefire hasn't just disintegrated. This war is now spiraling out of control again. The president is threatening escalation and war crimes and suggesting this could be another forever war. He has told us over 40 times now that a deal is near and the war will be over soon. But now he is asking for $70 billion more, and for us to just trust him, it'll work out fine.
Well, Rochelle Ferguson-Boyahi from our International Affairs desk joins us here on set now. Rochelle, the price of the Iran war, it seems to be rapidly increasing, doesn't it?
Spiraling out of control is what Patty Murray said there. We can bring up some of these figures for you because I think it's interesting to flesh through them. So as we've said so far this morning, $37.5 billion to date. That's how much is estimated to have cost the US this war on Iran. It's worth saying that a number of Democrats have said that,
Guys, I wanted to do a fun little math problem with you guys, right? We're going to calculate the possible returns with this. Okay? So let me just get the stuff here in front of me because last time, what was it last time that we visited to give us a bit of an idea? So last time, and again, I mentioned at the beginning of the stream as well, just the talking about where money could go to, where the money is coming from. Let's see here. Yeah, there you go. This one. Yeah, so this is my favorite article to grab at least once per stream. The false promise of defense as prosperity, right? And this goes through a bunch of fantastic science behind the absolute falsehood behind the lie that military investment is what's gonna boost an economy. Man, I'm even overshooting it. I keep saying that $1 in military and defense spending gets back 80 cents, but it's even lower. It's 60 cents, between 60 and $1.20. in GDP per dollar, while civilian infrastructure produces at least $1.5. So yeah, this is when I want to just put this right over here. Don't mind me. Okay. Guys, we're gonna cover the stream for just, or the chat for just a second. Defense spending produced. Also, this is what we're focusing on. And now I'm gonna literally grab my calculator. Okay, guys, calculate with me now. Let's make it more crowded here on the screen. Let's bring up this fucking notes app. Don't save. So let's do here. Defense spending. And then let's do civilian infrastructure spending. All right, so with this, what are we working with here? Can I make it smaller? Can I make it smaller? All right, let's just focus on it step by step. So defense spending to date in congressional funding destined for operations in the Middle East. All right, so let's even start off tame, right? $37.5 billion. That is, guys. That's dollars. So, and let's have a range, right? We will do times 0.6, like as in 0.60 dollars. This one. Like this would be the low range, right? And that's, let's grab our little calc. That's 37.5 billion times 0.6. That means that we are on the lower end getting back 22.5 billion, and on the upper hands and on the upper edge we're getting back, drum roll please, times 1.2, we're getting back 45. Oh shit, $45 billion. Now imagine imagine, I know guys, this is difficult. It's difficult to imagine the United States doing this, but imagine if we had gone the route of civilian infrastructure investment, right? Which brings at least $1.50 per dollar invested. Imagine if we have the same situation, $35.5 billion, but this time times 1.5 at least, right? So it could be higher. What would that result in? Let's go over here. Oh shit. That means 37.5 times 1.5 means that, that's not too bad. That's actually insane. Like, and I don't know, man, because the difference here is 60. So let's give this a range of 60 as well. Just for fun. Just for fun. While we're having fun, let's have a little bit more fun. I know it's not comparable like that necessarily, but I just think it really highlights how much it goes up, because we're talking about billions. So 37.5 times 2.1. That's an awful lot. So this is the difference that we are talking about, okay? And it's so important to have these numbers in front of us because I don't think a lot of us realize what the difference actually looks like. Oh, can I not move this around now? There we go. Let's squish it in a bit. So, right. To date, the United States has invested $37.5 billion in this Iran war conquest, right? And we always talk about this science right here, that defense spending in the US produces anywhere between 60 cents to $1.50 in GDP per dollar invested into defense spending. That means that this 35.5 is contributing anywhere between a negative amount in comparison to what was invested to a little bit, the same plus a little bit. Now, if we compare that to the dollar invested into civilian infrastructure, it produces at least $1.50. That means that on the very least, we are adding $56.25 billion to the GDP. Anywhere, and let's just say we get back $2, which is not unheard of at all. It would put back from that original $37.5 billion investment, it would put back 78 point whatever billion dollars into the GDP. And this is not just like this vague abstract thing that like, oh, GDP is going up. No, this is civilian infrastructure. This is stuff that is going to help people so fucking much. This is going to help people so much more than whatever this war is accomplishing, right? Which is making things more expensive, it's killing people, and it's completely destabilizing society, right? It's not bringing any kind of security. It's destabilizing not just American society, but the world at large. So this is such a great example of this article or this science that we always refer back to. Defense spending in the US produces between 60 cents to $1.50 in GDP per dollar invested versus civilian infrastructure that produced at least $1.50. Please, I repeat this because I want you guys to use this info. I want you guys to have these numbers in your head, right? This is the difference that we're talking about. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. And to think that most countries right now are really, in Europe especially if they're part of NATO and all that stuff, they are telling us to spend 5% of our GDP towards defense spending. And they're taking it out of civilian infrastructure. They're taking it out of public spending. It's ridiculous. So, guys, please don't forget this. Keep it in mind. And if you want to learn more, please read this article. It's such good science. It's like, it brings it down to the bare bones, and that just makes it so clear for everyone to understand. It's by Rusi. I don't know exactly what was it called again? What was it called? The Royal United Services Institute. There you go. Then the article itself is called, if you look this up, you can also find it, The False Promise of Defense is Prosperity by Rusi. This is, it's just all you would ever need for this info. Oh shit, what did I do? Done. There you go. Honestly, I might as well just have it on hand, you know what I mean? But yeah, guys, we just really, and we're not even touching these numbers, okay? We're not even touching these numbers. We use the 37 billion number. We didn't even use the almost $90 billion number. We didn't even touch that. Because that would really, that would be insane. That would be insane. This is the congressional funding that's requested. And then there's a $67 billion amount destined for operations in the Middle East.
The fees that it's taken in terms of the damage caused to US bases in the Gulf hasn't been included in that. So they estimate that the cost of this is a great deal higher. But what that amounts to ultimately is $8 billion increase since May. So you can see these fees rapidly increasing there. $87 billion then is what Pete Hegseth has asked for in congressional funding. Pete Hegseth then saying that, we face critical shortfalls. This has threatened our ability to pay our service members. His words, we're rapidly needing to replenish equipment, and that's why so much is being asked for. It's worth saying that in April, Congress, or the White House, asked Congress for $1.5 trillion. That would take modern-day American military spending to an all-time high. So these figures are increasingly going up. Pete Hegseth then blaming the Biden administration, saying that ultimately they underfunding the military, and that is why why they're so much in need of these funds now. Democrats saying that this is just about asking for an unlimited source of money for bombs.
Comes, of course, as I mentioned at the top there, 11th consecutive night of strikes by the US. Donald Trump's also made a specific threat, hasn't he? This is against Pickaxe Mountain.
That's right, that 11 consecutive night, or 11th, I should say. US Central Command says, no, we are all about stopping this threat on the Strait of Hormuz. So we have therefore targeted aircraft hangars. We've targeted maritime...
Obligatory reminder that the Strait of Hormuz was indeed open before all of this, Iran targeting was happening. So, it was never really about the Strait of Hormuz because it was always open.
Capabilities, drone storage facilities. Donald Trump, it's worth saying, is upping the rhetoric. He's upping the ante, as you said, and said the next military target for us could, in fact, be Pickaxe Mountain. What do we know about Pickaxe Mountain? We know, first of all, that in Iran, it's known as the Kulikolong Gazla. It's a fortified nuclear site where Iran is suspected of building an undeclared enrichment facility. In terms of where it's situated, it's not far from the primary nuclear facility, which is known Nantaz, about 2 kilometers from there. It's thought that inside this Pickaxe Mountain, about 100 meters deep, is where this undeclared facility has or is being...
Bro, I love this. I love watching this manufacturing of consent happening in front of my eyes. How nice that our media is constantly saying the lie that Iran is developing nuclear weapons. It's a lie, don't believe the lie. Yeah, that's like this exact same reporting we are also watching. Ooh, nukes, scary nukes. But yeah. Anyway, I think they're only gonna just continue talking about that. So yeah, that's just, for us to take home and think about all of this stuff, how deeply it's connected. Let's see, we have about 15 minutes left, so let's see what I want to touch on. Yeah, I think, for now, what I want to touch on a little bit as far as like underlying themes and ideas is that, once again, as I said at the beginning of the stream, it is very important that we realize that our political leaders won't change, right? Our political leaders will keep doing what they're doing for the most part, not all of them. Like, there's some exceptions here and there, but again, that's an exception to the rule. It's not, for the most part, what's the case, right? Not everyone is a Mamdani, not everyone is a Trump, but, a lot of them are allies of Trump, and that makes their interests align for the most part. But yeah, the underlying idea is that a lot of our politicians are really focused on this, rearmament drive, more in military investment, more defense spending. That's really the name of the game right now. And as we just talked about, it's a horrible way. It's an absolutely mind-bogglingly suicidal, stupid thing to do if you actually want to rebuild your economy, right? We are in desperate times of deindustrialization. Manufacturing is crumbling. We're not competitive. We're not offering anything, and we're heading to a future of being obsolete, unfortunately. The only countries or places with the only places that are coming out of it positive is places that have capable governance, like governance that has some capacity to at least look towards the future and be like, maybe we should address some of these like life-altering things that are coming at us, and we should plan with them. We should try to do something that will put us in a better place than we are right now. We can see, for example, in Spain, Pedro Sanchez is moving in ways that seem to be, for the most part, within the system, doing what he can to alleviate some of the struggle that people might feel. We see Mamdani do the same, moving within the system to the best of his ability to maintain not just his presence, but also build more democratic socialist places throughout the US, in order to kind of do things a little bit differently, right? Show that things can go differently, and that absolutely creates space for other people, for other, people that want to run for office to also show up and represent people's interests, where we are at right now and where we need to go to. So yeah, we need to hold our leaders accountable, because also, fun fact, the ruling class, the politicians that I always point to that are to blame, they're not always as aligned as I might even paint them out to be. There are still a lot of internal contradictions, even within their, ruling capitalist class. And so I think that that is for us to exploit, for us to point to, and to be like, not only are they not representing our interests, they're not, they're all over the place. They're not offering a clear plan. One great example is Kaja Kallas and Ursula von der Leyen in the EU. Let me just bring that up real quick. Two very, I don't even know how to best describe them, but there are some menaces. All right, there are some menaces in the EU, in as far as Israel allyship and United States allyship. But one of the recent things that we saw, really briefly reported on. Let's see here. Let's see. Just a second, guys. Is this it? This is very niche.
Yes, Stephanie's Israel Europe table. It's
Yeah. So, I mean, it was reported here. It might be a little bit paraphrased, but Kajas Kallen accused Ursula von der Leyen of taking German government's position on trade with Israeli settlements in this quite extraordinary clip from the press conference last week, not widely reported. But yeah, let me just see what she actually says.
In the Commission, the member states' views are equally reflected like we see them in the Council. So this is unfortunately where we are as Europe.
I mean,
in the Commission, the member states' views are equally reflected like we see them in the Council. So this is unfortunately where we are as Europe. We need to have a unified position, and so far we have not been able to have that unified position. There are
yeah, she doesn't really say that in the clip. EU ambassadors meet today, kind of asking whether enough support is emerging to restrict trade with Israeli settlements. Behind the debate lies a growing clash with Ursula von der Leyen on how the bloc should handle the issue.
It seems on the settlers sanctions, it seems the Commission has a clear preference for a way on unanimity and on sanctions. So my question is, as you have two heads actually in this conflict, how will you solve this conflict that seems to exist between you and the Commission President, who is not of the opinion that it's a trade issue? Thank you.
Commission or college is also a collegial body, so where we have representatives from all the member states. And I think, sorry, I've been talking too much today, sorry. And so in the Commission, the member states' views are equally reflected like we see them in the Council. So this is unfortunately where we are as Europe. We need to have a unified position, and so far we have not been able to have that unified position. There is a legal opinion that we can do this also with the qualified majority. The Council legal.
Hey, what's up, Blue? Welcome. Hi, dear. Welcome. Good to have you. Dude, I just went... We're going through a lot of stuff, but right now I was just kind of trying to figure out if this is correct or not, but the point being, you're just joining when I'm talking about... Because I'm kind of coming towards the end of the stream. Glad you're joining, of course, but I'm just kind of wrapping things up, and I was just talking about how, or the theme for today's stream was really like, in what ways our politicians absolutely do not represent our interests, and they are very much representing the interests of like military spending, that sort of thing, the United States and other allies like Israel even, and that even though sometimes it might seem like all of our elected officials are really going down that path, there's still like within that group, there are still like contradictions happening. So I just wanted to see this reporting that anyway, that's just going into a bit more detail, but that's just kind of what we've been talking about today. I think I will actually kind of talk about some other things to finish it off. But yeah, I mean, we talked about the UK with the new prime minister coming in there, and really, showing us the same as previously. A lot of the cabinet of Andy Burnham that is now coming in new seems to be mostly a lot of like Israel allies, or people that are